QuickBooks Studios. Come with me. I'm gonna give you a tour of the fellas studios. Right, we'll start here with the main office. Mind your head. It has just been Pride Month. This is the main office. Come with me. We've got, so you have to duck and weave between these flags. We've got meeting room number 2, or creatively known as the small meeting room. Moving on over here is where we have the big meeting room that has been transformed into an interview room for some content later today with QuickBooks Studios. Come on with me. So, as you can see, we tried to split everybody up in sort of the teams in which they work in. This is kind of the fellas team here with a lot of the graphics guys, which is quite exciting. And then we have myself, Chip, Elliot, and a few of the other senior members of the team that work on that table in the corner over there. And then we have the kitchen, the most popular area of the entire office. I mean, I want to talk about company perks. We got the Frutella right here. I mean, what more do you want? Believe it or not, our coffee machine has been malfunctioning, and that's why everyone's on strike and not in the office. What was the story behind the Fellas Studios, and when did I know I wanted to build my own creative space? To be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that question, but that's purely because it was a little bit of a blurred line when it all happened. We obviously started the Fellas podcast to begin with, and we really found a lot of joy in making that, and we really saw the power of video podcasting and really saw that as the future of where this industry was going to be heading. And from there, we had a few other friends that we knew that were keen on making podcasts as well. And they looked at what we were doing with the sets and the video side of things and sort of just asked, can you replicate what you've done there for us? And we obliged. And I guess that was probably the starting point for the Fellas Studios. That was the creation of it. And then ever since then, it's sort of been snowballing into what you guys are gonna see today. This is our plaque wall, although you two, I got a bone to pick with you. Look how small the 100K subscriber plaques are now. What the hell is happening here? See all you shorts creators, that you've done this. And I won't forget that. Anyways, come with me, we'll head down to floor number 2. And let me explain to you about a few of the challenges that we've had while setting this place up. And I think the biggest one would have just been how bloody expensive it is to build a studio. Yeah, I can't quite stress that enough, that the amount of cost that you probably just don't even think about, but it's necessary and required a lot of the time. All right, let me take you into the first studio, and I would argue the most important of them all because it's got, well, the fellas set in it. So come with me, come on in. So this one only has 2 sets in it for now. We've got the amazing Saving Grace. This is hers here. We've got a couple of the lights on. And fun fact, actually, she was the second ever podcast that we brought on board. So we went Pitchside and then Saving Grace. So yeah, Grace has sort of been on this journey with us for, well, kind of since the beginning, really. And then if we head on through over here, we have got the best podcast set and just podcast in the world, and it's the Fellas set. This is it, man. We've actually got a podcast filming later today with a very strong human, so I'll leave it at that. But yeah, very excited to have him on here. I hope that he fits on this couch. He should do. It's also like a really comfy couch. So this is the Fellas set. This is our 4th set of all the different ones that we've had. And yeah, we've found that just making sets is a lot of fun, very expensive to do as well, but you'll see a key theme of everything that we do here at the Fellas Studios, and important to our strategy, which revolves around video and making exciting, engaging video content. So yeah, the set is a lot of fun, and that's my co-founder Chip's job. He's the one that designs all the sets here. He's the one that asks me for money, and I usually try and tell him no, and then he always ends up winning and he gets the set that he wants. So yeah, that's kind of how our relationship works. So the first time that we opened the doors to the Fellas Studios, there was, I think, 2 or 3 people working there. It was really, really small. We managed to fit 1 set in here and a desk that everybody worked in. And yeah, it was very, very different. It was a bit gung-ho. No one really knew what they were doing. All we knew that it was that we wanted to make really cool podcasts for other creators and talent out there. And that was, we just kind of had a vision, and slowly but surely we've moved into slightly bigger spaces, added more people to the team, added more shows to the team, and kind of spiraled into what we have today. When it started in sort of early 2022, that was around 3 people, I think. 2023 rolled around, we had grown to about between 10 to 15 people, and then we sort of accelerated and grew into what we are now into 2025, which is just shy of 40 people. So yeah, it's been good. And it's been an exciting journey. How has my role changed as the company's grown? I'd say, you know what? Unsurprisingly, not too much. I definitely spend time working on just different things. The problems that you have in a company are definitely different. The magnitude of the problems feel a lot bigger as well. So the responsibility weighs a little bit heavier, but for the most part, I've always tried to keep my roles fairly similar because ultimately I want to be making sure I spend time on what I can do best, which is help on the video side of things and working with creators and making sure that we're delivering as much value to creators and advertisers. All right, so the question of what has been the we made it moment, or the moment that we felt we were onto something. I'll be honest with you, I've never had that moment, not yet at least. And I'm not too sure why that is, but yeah, if I'm honest with you, I've never had a moment that has felt that we've made it or we've created something, to be honest with you. I tell you one thing that I do enjoy about it though, that is kind of like a recurring moment, is anytime we do tours like this and people get to see it, because you get to feel quite normalized to the fact that we have sort of like 14, 15, 16 shows in one building. I forget that that's not really a normal thing. So yeah, maybe that. This next one, we're heading down the hallway. We've got a few posters of some of the shows that we have. We've got the Bach and Arthur poster, Saving Grace, of course. There's still some more posters to go up. These are just the ones that we got done first. But yeah, then we head into studio number 2. I'll be honest with you, the studios don't have a number. I've just given you a number for this tour. We just say what shows are in here and everyone kind of knows. The first one we have here is the wonderful duo of the D-Pick girls, Mariam and Adiola, incredible at what they do, truly the top pros, and probably the most professional of anybody that we have here at the Fella Studios. And if you swing it the other way, we've got a relatively new show for us, Family Ties. 3 brothers that sort of grew up together and are all extremely successful in their own right, doing their own thing. And yeah, it's really impressive. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. It's got off to a fantastic start. So yeah, we'll see how they get on, brand new. Then we move into these 2 here, which we brought into the studio. These were not created at the Fella Studios, more so we brought them on board because they liked what we were doing here, the monetization that we offer at the Fella Studios, and the production services as well. So we've got Wafflin here, which is a monster of a show hosted by Joe Weller, Luke, and Theo. And this has been going on for a while. They went on a little break and they ultimately needed to find a way in which they could bring it back, but take as much of the production stuff off of their hands. And so that's what we managed to offer them, and that's why Wafflin came back in the way that it is. Opposite, we've got the Bach and Arthur podcast. 2 very successful TikTok stars, if you will, and I know Arthur won't actually appreciate that. He's a YouTuber as well. But yeah, these 2 guys have their own spaceship set, as you can tell. This is a lot of people's favorite set, actually, and I do think it's really cool. We've changed up the background recently as their spaceship has crash landed, and yeah, these boys are absolutely smashing it and have a really engaged audience. So definitely worth keeping out for, and not as brain rotty as the Fellas podcast is. We get to the back here where we have 2 very fun podcasts. I think that's safe to say. We've got Chloe versus the World, Chloe Burrows, who is just a natural when it comes to entertainment. Then we've got a relatively new one as well. This one is Danny and Tennessee, a couple newly parents as well, so congrats to them on that, and engaged. But yeah, they have a couples podcast here, a really cool boxing machine there that does actually work, and yeah, they're both extremely entertaining and make for some incredible clips. A common question that we get is around how we decide what creators to work with, what ones not to work with, what talent that yeah we want to make podcasts with, and the truth is About a million different reasons. A really common one is how engaged their audience is. I think that's something that we definitely look towards. But not only that, but how good are they on the mic? Do we actually think that this is a podcast people want to listen to? Is there a strong idea behind it? Honestly, there are just so many different questions that we have to ask ourselves. Is it commercially viable? Will brands want to spend money doing this? And the ultimate question is, can we make something that is going to be worth the creator's time? And I think that's really important, and I think it's tough to avoid the fact that you have to deliver the dollars to them at the end of the month for it to be worth their time to do. And yeah, that's sort of all these different questions. A really big one for us, and sort of is like the final box that we need to tick before we sign off on any show, is does the creator want to do this, or has their management just told them this would be a good idea? It's a really common thing that we have to have a bit of a battle with. You know, people see the money that are involved in podcasts and they go, oh, yep, I want my client to do this. I think that'd be great for them. And it turns out that the creator is just kind of doing it because they've been told to, and they have no real love for it, or they don't have any sort of passion to make a podcast. And that can be really difficult to figure out what is and isn't true, but we do our best to weed out who we think is actually here to make some really, really great content, and also in it for the long haul. I think that's really important too. Let's head on to the next studio room. One of the questions that gets asked is, what is something that people don't realize about either this studio or just studios in general until you're actually there and you see it? And if I'm perfectly honest with you, it's the fact that all these sets are in one room. A lot of the time people can't believe, like, we've got 6 sets in one place, and there are so many different viewers and fan bases all in one room. So when they find out that, you know, Bach and Arthur set is opposite Waffling, their mind's kind of blowing, and I don't think you realize it until sometimes you come in here, or maybe you're watching this tour. So yeah, it's fun, but we're really, really keen to actually make the sets and have them here rather than it be a temporary solution. I think it really makes a big difference for the host when they rock up and they feel like they're in their own set, or when they have guests, like they feel it and they see it. I think it makes a really big difference, and you get to immerse them in the world of their podcast. So yeah, it's always been a really important thing for us. So we certainly make use of all the room that we pay for. Come on through, let's head to studio number 3. Come on in here. We've got a bit of a wardrobe that you're greeted by, and that really is for Radio Rufus. And this will be the first set that we head into. This, for me, is my personal favorite set. So yeah, come on in. It's a 360 set. I'm not too sure I've seen this done in podcasting per se before. Here we have it. This is Radio Rufus, and it is a 360-degree set. The producer sits here, and you can see the screens, the buttons, TV for the cameras here, and it's all done by hidden cameras. Hopefully, none of the cameras get the other cameras in shot. So it's a really, really cool set. It's obviously themed amazingly. Chip did a fantastic job working on this, as well with the creative team that was involved. So yeah, this is for me really special. Obviously, you know, we spoke about earlier about that immersion and really feeling when you're in the set. And I think this is the epitome of that. Once you're in here, you see nothing else but the vibe of the podcast. So yeah, really, really cool, and definitely my favorite set of the fellas. Heading on over here, we have got Not My Bag, and this is hosted by Joe Baggs, and just the absolute king of reality TV, all of that stuff. If you watch Love Island, there's a good chance the guest is going to be sat there at some point. If you watch any of the reality TV shows, even some of the biggest internet creators as well, he does a fantastic job of interviewing them, speaking about them, and getting all the juicy gossip that you're probably after if you've watched the TV shows or whatever the guest was on. So yeah, really, really great. And this is actually probably the only other show that has as many sets as the fellas. It's been through a lot of different iterations, but I have to admit, I think this is by far my favorite version of all the different ones, and it's got some sick bags as well. So yeah, fair play. If we head on over here, we have got The Club, an absolute monster of a football show. Some takes that you will agree with, definitely some takes you won't agree with, but these boys have been in this space for a really long time, and it is a massive set. I mean, this is our biggest set without a doubt. They do a lot of stuff here. They do football. I believe there's plans to do some poker streams. There's just a lot going on here. And I just think it's an incredible looking set, and these boys have done so well with their show. You know, turning up, you know, to make a football show successful, you really have to spend a lot of time on it and being there and being present, and those boys absolutely turn up. So yeah, the club is a staple here at the Fellas Studios. And right next to it is one of the hosts' other shows, Internet Dad. So this is with Rory Jennings and Spencer, and they've got like this, a bit of like cabin in the woods type of vibe. Really, really cool, very cozy. And just their sort of connection, the way they speak about things and talk about, well, ultimately being a dad. Sometimes I get guests on that are newly dads as well. A few of my friends have been on this show. And yeah, it's always really cool to hear a very different side to a creator that is maybe early in parenthood. So yeah, these guys are doing a great job. And definitely one of the most underrated sets, I would say, here at the Fellas Studios. What's next for the Fellas Studios? And honestly, that's a good question and something I'm always trying to figure out the answer to. I've certainly got some ideas, and one of those things definitely revolves around a lot more live content as well. So at the moment, of course, like the club, you expect them to be going live for the football shows, but how can we have Not My Bag? How can we have Bach and Arthur? How can we have these guys going live with podcasting? Do you do the podcast live and have chat interaction? This is definitely something that we're going to be working on, and one of the great things about spending an absolute fortune on the tech here is the fact that we can literally go live with a click of a button. So that is really exciting for us. Not only that, but expanding into other territories as well. Where else can we take the Fellas Studios? Is there talent across the pond? Is there talent even just up north? Is there talent in Australia that we want to start working with and ultimately creating bases not just here in London? So yeah, it's quite exciting, to be honest. Let's head down to floor number 1, where we have, I call it the toughest watch here at the Fellas Studios. All right, so we're down here. We didn't have the budget to paint the walls down here, and unfortunately, until these boys fix up their act, they're not gonna get painted walls. So let's head into here. This is Pitchside and Backside. So it's a little bit darker in here because, well, again, these guys need to clean their table and a few other bits, but Pitchside has been an incredible show hosted by Reeve, Theo, Tom Garrett, and Lewis Bowden as well. It is the definition of football entertainment. There is plenty of rage bait involved in this, and like I said, it can be very difficult to watch, but I would also say it is up there as one of our most entertaining shows, and these guys absolutely know how to entertain people. So we started with Pitchside here and ultimately created a spin-off called Backside. Now, there were plenty of arguments about the name and the title, but Lewis got his way with this one and ended up with Backside. So that's what they have. And now, let there be light. Ta-da! Yeah, that is Backside. And I think the longer that the neon lights don't come on that logo, the better. I think it's kind of part of the charm anyways. These boys, they were speaking so much about football that half the time the football streams would turn into something completely unrelated to football. And so we said, right, enough of that. You can just do your own show and talk about absolute nonsense over there. So yeah, as you can tell, we're really invested in the football content side of things. We've got obviously this and the club. It's an extremely competitive space, football content, but at the same time, I think it's one of the most fun spaces to be involved in. It definitely requires a lot of effort and demand, and it's hard to break through, but with the right talent, the right production, you know, we've managed to do that across 2 different shows. And yeah, and in terms of revenue as well across these shows, you know, they're some of the strongest performing. As you can imagine, there's a lot of brands interested in spending money on football content, and these 2 shows do a fantastic job of that. Not only that, but they outperform probably a lot of the more popular and headline football shows that you guys will be aware of. You know, from the data that we've seen and from working with brands, it's always amazing to hear that these guys convert really well and perform and give really good value back to advertisers. So yeah, they're smashing it and getting ready for another Premier League season. Right, come with me, mind your head. That is our legal disclaimer, so you can't sue us. if you do smash your head. And then we have our multi-space area. So yeah, we can rig up loads of lights here. We've only got 2 at the moment, but this is really, really handy. We use this for a lot of different things. We actually also rent it out to people that we've kind of know and worked with before. The sidemen have used this space as well, which is really cool. And yeah, this can literally be used for whatever, whether that be merchandise shoots, artwork shoots, literally anything and everything, and even like little bits and sketches and things like that have been filmed here. It's just so important to have a space where we can film whatever we want, because it's great having all these sets, but sometimes you kind of just need the default space, and that's what we've done here. And I think we're going to look to create another default space. There's definitely room for expansion. You guys may have seen there are definitely spaces for more sets here, and as well as that room over there we can turn into a lot more sets. Where do I see this place or myself in 5 years time? It's interesting. I feel like I get asked this question quite frequently. Personally, for myself, I think I'll always have some level of involvement in content, whether that be in front and behind. A mix of both is what I do now, and I still see that being the case 5 years down the line. The Fellow Studios itself, like I said, I hope that it's across a lot more territories. I hope that we are still delivering the best value, the best sort of monetization opportunities and content opportunities to creators and talent in the UK, but ultimately across the world. So yeah, in 5 years' time, the truth is I have no idea. I certainly have plans and things that I'd like to achieve along the way, but I think it's also important, especially nowadays, not to have too much of a rigid plan or a very strict vision. I think you end up tunnel visioning, and it can just really hamper other exciting opportunities that are going to come your way at some point during those 5 years. So I like to remain flexible, nimble, and ultimately never have too many meetings. That's the #1 rule here. All right, QuickBooks Studios UK, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here, but at the end of the day, we've got content to film, we've got stuff to do, and you're getting in the way. So if you wouldn't mind, the door's there.